There is one thing that, like I said, I kind of wanted to yap about a little bit, which goes back to the whole the Dave Smith, Douglas Murray thing, which is that's a whole mess of its own. But so one thing that it's got me thinking about is the particular expertise of journalists like Douglas Murray. So it's important to remember that Douglas Murray is his expertise is journalism. He is a journalist. That is his only credential, right? He has no academic training to speak of. He has a bachelor's degree in English. And so his only expertise is in journalism, right? Is in his experience as a journalist, which is to say nothing really. The problem, of course, being that journalists take said experience to be a kind of relevant expertise in everything, right? Journalists are roughly, I would say, the equivalent to the poets that Plato warns against, who saw themselves as the sort of universal experts in all things. Whereas they have a great deal of recall knowledge and experience about many different things, but have no wisdom about anything in particular, nor about everything in general. They don't have a profound understanding of really anything. And that's a big issue, right?
Stop messing about. Put it away.
It leads them to have this profound hubris while also having a lack of understanding, which you can see in the likes of Douglas Murray, of course.
Hey, stop messing about.
Now you also find people like this, like Douglas Murray, often criticizing conspiracy theorists, people like me, for getting a whole bunch of things right, but not having a, quote, right to know, not having epistemic justification for these various beliefs that we come to, even if they wind up being true, and having a kind of justification, but not having a sufficient justification to call it knowledge in advance, right? So if I say had the conspiracy-minded conclusion that, say, the COVID vaccines were not reliable or not safe and effective, yada yada yada, or that the COVID lockdowns would not be effective and would only be counterproductive, they would claim that, yeah, we know that now in retrospect, but that is because of discoveries that we've come across since then, and that I had no right to be sure. I had no justification for that knowledge beforehand. Now, first of all, I did. I had solid arguments, and you can go back to some old streams for arguments to that effect. Now, I had to be really cagey with my terminology so I didn't get banned on YouTube. I got a couple of strikes for it during the time. But in any case,
stop messing about with that weapon before you hurt someone.
Nice. The other point, though, is that I think you can make a serious case for a justification via epistemic reliability. So there's one epistemological theory that I've always been a little bit skeptical of, but has some serious arguments behind it, which is what's referred to as reliabilism. That you can have a sufficient justification for a belief if the source of that belief, the source justification of that belief, is reliable, is known to be reliable, even if you have no certain knowledge of why it's reliable. The token example of this from David Chalmers, I think it's David Chalmers, is the case of what are called chicken sexers. So this is a profession whereby a guy, typically is a guy, often autistic, will be able to very reliably, with near perfect accuracy, will be able to pick up a baby chick and determine if it's male or female, and will have no way of knowing how it is they know, because newborn chicks are externally indistinguishable sexually. They're not sexually dimorphic until they grow up substantially, right? So there is, they should have no way of knowing it, particularly at a pick it up, notice, and then sort it properly at a quick glance like that.
Stop messing about with that weapon before
You'd
you
need
hurt
a more
someone.
careful and perhaps even invasive investigation to be able to know. But they can always figure it out. They can figure it out with basically 100% perfect accuracy. How?
Stop messing about. Put
Well,
it
if they
away.
don't know how, the question then arises. If they don't know how they know, but they claim to know, do they have what's called a right to be sure? Can we say rationally that they know
Shoot someone,
that this
put
is
it
a
away.
rooster and this is a hen
Stop messing about. Put it away.
without knowing how they know? But they are aware of their own reliability in this weird little talent that they
You want to
have.
shoot someone?
And so is knowledge of their own reliability sufficient justification for calling it knowledge?
Stop messing about. Put it away.
I would say, yeah, I think it is. And so I would also say that people who intuitively get the truth right, even though these truth claims are called conspiracy theories at the time, I would say that if they have a good track record, if they have sufficient reliability, then yeah, I would say that they have a justification for
Shoot someone.
believing that that is riddled. Good Lord. They have a justification for believing that this conspiracy theory, whatever it is in fact correct. Simply on the basis of reliability, that they've gotten these things right so many times, and it seems intuitively obvious that in this case it is such and such for similar or the same reasons, even if they can't articulate a thorough epistemic justification for the claim. If they're reliable enough in getting these sorts of things right, I think you can justifiably say that yes, they do have what am I saying? We can justifiably say that yes, this is in fact knowledge. If you could put up your epistemic track record as evidence for a claim, I think that is perfectly justified. And I think that even if you don't have relevant expertise, even if you don't have a thoroughgoing epistemic justification that would satisfy a non-reliabilist epistemologist, I think reliabilism is a solid mode or method of epistemic justification. That's somewhat controversial, especially because it justifies conspiracy theorists. But hell, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist sometimes, so. Or at least I will put some reasonable stock in reliable, quote, conspiracy theorists. That is, people who are accused of conspiracy theorizing, but who turn out to be right extremely often. And I'm not talking about the likes of Alex Jones. Yeah, I know there's the joke about the whole Alex Jones is right jar, but that's because he claims so many wild and outlandish things that, yeah, he has to be right sometimes. Just due to, well, if I shoot enough bolts at the target, I'll hit the bullseye a few times, right? And no, I don't have a ton of precision here. I did decently well. I think I hit the bullseye. I think I hit the target every time, but I don't think I hit the bull. I obviously didn't hit the bullseye every time. But if, suppose, I were to hit the bullseye absolutely every time, but I don't actually know how I did that. I can't teach you how to shoot a crossbow. I can't, aim it well, but I hit the bullseye every time. Yeah, no, I would say I'm a good shot. That is roughly the equivalent.